brush it off as a superstition. We unpacked, settled in, and enjoyed a quiet dinner by the fire. By the time the night fell, the only light came from the fire and the moon, which was hidden behind thick clouds. The wind howled outside, and the trees creaked like old bones. I couldn't shake the feeling that the cabin, though beautiful, felt off. Maybe it was the silence. No crickets, no animals, just that unnatural stillness. Jake noticed it too, and jokingly said, "It's like the woods are holding their breath, waiting for something to happen." We laughed, but I could sense there was tension in the air. Still, we settled in for the night, curling up under the thick blankets in the cozy bedroom. The sounds of the wind outside grew louder, and I found it hard to sleep, the room feeling strangely colder despite the fire still crackling downstairs. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of a thud. At first, I thought it was the wind again, but then it came again, louder this time. Thud, thud, thud. I nudged Jake awake. Did you hear that? Jake groggily rubbed his eyes, sat up in bed. Yeah, sounds like something hitting the walls. Maybe it's the house settling. I didn't think that was it. The thuds weren't random. They were rhythmic, deliberate. What if it's something outside? I whispered, my voice shaking slightly. A bear or something. Jake was already out of bed, grabbing a flashlight from the nightstand. I'll check. Stay here. I didn't want to stay there alone, but I didn't argue. Jake left the room, and I was left in the silence of the dark. The thuds had stopped, but the tension in the air had only grown thicker. After what felt like an eternity, Jake returned. His face was pale. Nothing, he said. No animals, but I swear I heard something moving around downstairs. We both stared at each other, unsure of what to do. The wind outside was picking up, making everything feel more menacing. We decided to stay in the room, locking the door behind us, and tried to get some sleep, but the unsettling feeling didn't fade. At some point, I must have drifted off. The next thing I knew, I was jolted awake by a sudden noise, a low, guttural growl. I sat up, heart racing, straining to hear through the dark. The growl came again, louder this time, and closer. It wasn't the growl of a bear or any animal I knew. It was something wrong. "Jake," I whispered, my voice trembling, but there was no response. I turned, but Jake wasn't in bed anymore. Panic clawed at my chest as I stood up, clutching the blanket around me. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew something wasn't right. I tiptoed out of the bedroom, the floor creaking underfoot, and froze when I heard the growl again. It was coming from the living room downstairs. I crept down the staircase, my heart pounding in my ears, trying not to make a sound. As I reached the bottom of the stairs, I saw him, Jake, standing in the middle of the living room, his back to me. "Jake," I whispered, my voice barely audible. He didn't move. I stepped closer, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. As I got closer, I noticed something that made my stomach twist. His posture was wrong. He was standing unnaturally still, too still, and his head tilted to the side in a way that didn't seem human. Then I heard it again, the growl. It was coming from behind me. My breath caught in my throat as I saw movement in the shadows, something slithering toward Jake. It wasn't a person. It wasn't an animal. It was something else. The creature was tall, far too tall for any man, and its limbs were unnaturally long. Its skin was mottled, scream, but my throat was closed up. The creature's gaze seemed to hold me in place, paralyzing me with fear. It made no sound, just watched, as if it were savoring the moment. Suddenly, Jake jerked. His head snapped forward and his body moved, awkwardly, like a puppet on strings. He turned to face me, but it wasn't Jake anymore. His eyes were wide and empty, the same as the creature's. He smiled, but it wasn't his smile. It was the thing behind him, controlling him. I backed away, stumbling, my mind screaming at me to run, but my body refused to move. The creature stepped forward, its long fingers brushing against Jake's body as if to confirm its control over him. And then it spoke, though not with words, but with a voice that echoed directly in my mind. Leave or he. D-E-I-S. I don't know how, but the words shattered my paralysis. I turned and ran, not even thinking, just desperate to escape. I bolted up the stairs, slammed the bedroom door behind me, and locked it. Jake's voice, his real voice, called from downstairs. Please, help me. I can't move, please. I collapsed onto the floor, my breath ragged, tears running down my face, but the creature's warning haunted me. Leave or he dies. I had no choice. I ran. I don't know how I managed to make it back to the car. I don't even remember driving, but somehow I found myself speeding down the mountain road, the headlights of my car cutting through the darkness. I didn't look back. I couldn't. That night, I heard nothing of Jake again. I don't know if he's still out there or if whatever that thing was is still in control of him. But I'll never return to that cabin, not for any reason. Some places are better left undisturbed, and some creatures are best left alone. The woods are quiet now, but I know better than to believe they'll stay that way. Alright guys, thank you for having joined me in my very first scary story ASMR video. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know down in the comments, and thank you all for having spent your time with me. I wish you all a restful and sleepy